Happy Saturday. Welcome to WagerTalk's Last Call. I'm Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas, and we have a full lineup this morning. Andy Lane, Ronald Cabang, and coming up last, Steve Merril with some college football. Ronald and I have a bone to pick. For some reason, he wants to talk soccer on a college football Saturday. But first, we're going to bring in Andy Lang. Andy and I do a little show called Bet On It, where he brings me in a prop bet that either supports or is against my best bet. So you guys can head over to the Wager Talk YouTube channel, which you're probably already on, and watch that one. We have a football blowout special from Wednesday, October 4th through Tuesday, November 21st. There are almost 50 days of football. You get 7 weeks of college football and NFL action for an amazingly low $39 per week. That's right. You get 7 weeks of football for $273. Andy Lang, my favorite Instagram guy. He just does so much for me, and I just got to give him a little bit of praise. Him and Jimmy Adams. So make sure you guys head over to the Wager Talk Instagram channel. We give out a ton of free picks, including mine, clips from Bet On It, and Andy's little prop shop is always open over there. Andy, I know it's college football Saturday, but you have not one, but 2 NFL player props for us for Sunday.
Yeah, nice cash on Bet On It for our primetime game. We had Khalil Herbert over his rushing yards. Easily gets over there before he got hurt, unfortunately. I hope he's all right. Couple of props here for tomorrow. And Kelly, you know me, love fading my home team. My Indianapolis Colts secondary is not very good. They give up 287 yards a game passing. I think that's where the Tennessee Titans attack them. And Ryan Tannehill's number is set at 206.5. Seems really, really low. I know this isn't a great passing offense, and they're probably going to ride Derrick Henry, who always seems to beat up the Colts, but it's not really the same Derrick Henry. They're going to mix in Tajay Spears and Ryan Tannehill. Now, he went under this passing total against the 2 best defenses that he faced, the Saints and the Browns, but he easily went over against the 2 bad pass defenses that he faced, the Bengals and the Chargers. So really surprised to get this low number. I think this is a really good spot for him to not hand the ball off a ton to Derrick Henry, who hasn't looked amazing this year. I think he gets a lot of the wide receivers involved. So me, Ryan Tannehill over 206.5 passing. And then, of course, we have to beat up on the Giants here a little bit. I mean, because everyone else has in the NFL. Listen, I don't understand why Devon Achane's rushing total is so low. There's a very big potential that this game gets out of control quick. So I'm going to take Achane over. I have 49.5, but I think this thing's going to be at 51.5, 52.5 by kickoff, and I'll still take it. This is a Giants team that has averaged, and I'm not making this up, Kelly, 2.3 points in the first half per game. The Dolphins averaged 21.3. It's a pretty safe bet that they're going to be up, and I think they run the ball. The Giants give up the 8th most rushing yards per game. I could see Mostert having a good game. I could see Achane having a good game. The last 2 games, this guy has had 26 carries for 204 yards. Pretty good yards per carry average. So I like this Dolphins team to have a good week against this Giants team that is searching for answers. I think Achane runs the ball early and late as the Dolphins slowly build their lead, or may quickly build their lead. So Ryan Tannehill over passing, Von Achane over his rushing. Those are my 2 favorite props for today.
I love it. Andy, that bodes well for my fantasy team, not that anybody cares. And then also there's a ton of value if you play stale lines in certain contests with teams like the Titans. They opened as a 1-point dog, now a 2.5-point favorite. So I'd say the market agrees with you, Andy, that maybe your hometown team is not as good as maybe that win that they had in Baltimore. So real quick, before I let you go, tell me what you've got up over at Wager Talk and where else we can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Bump Sports, and what we have up today, we have a really good UFC play. Don't forget, there's a afternoon UFC card, which is always fun. You can watch fights and follow all your college football plays. But really, Kelly, it's the 5% NFL plays. We're 25-9 the last 2 seasons. We've started off this season perfect. We're on a 4-0 run in NFL 5% plays. They're my bread and butter. Great way to build the bankroll, and we have a 5% play that is up right now. It is a prop, and the line is held steady. So very happy with the line, very happy with the number. Grab that. It's been really the best thing going for us the last couple seasons in NFL. So 25-9 run. Really proud of that. That is what I'm recommending everyone go get for this weekend.
I love it, Andy. And then golf season's right around the corner, which you and I will be doing some more videos for that here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Andy, I hope you have a wonderful Saturday and, of course, cash those prop bets. Oh, I apologize. You know what I forgot to do in the beginning of the show was tell you guys to jump in the comment section. I had too much wine with Errol Epstein last night. What are you going to do? We do have a question here from the comment section. Ghostin wants to know, Andy, how much do you like or not like to follow a player prop after a great performance? For example, DJ Moore.
Well, you have to expect that the number is going to be inflated. That was a primetime game. That's the only game everyone was watching, and he has, a career game. So you have to, first off, expect that the number is going to be inflated. You also have to look at the matchup. They play the Vikings next week at home. That is a fantastic matchup. You also have to look at the injuries here. I don't know what's going to happen with this Bears backfield. They may have lost Khalil Herbert and Johnson for next week. We'll have to wait and see. So after a huge performance like that, I'm going to take a wait and see. I'm probably not going to be on DJ Moore because his price is going to be the highest it's ever been. The stock is as high as it's going to be this season unless he keeps it up. So, if anything, I'm looking towards an under. But honestly, when these guys come off of these huge games, it's probably going to be a pass for me the very next week as the price is going to be way too inflated.
Good question from Ghosted. Maybe don't buy into a one game sample size. Andy Lang, thank you for your contribution today on Wager Talk's Last Call. If you guys have a question in the comment section, feel free to jump in. We're going to pivot now and talk some soccer. Ronald Cabang at UCapper Sports. It is college football, my guy. What are we
we had to
doing?
bring
We're
some
gonna talk.
variety to the show here. We got to bring some variety.
I love it. I love it. My friend John Murray would be very proud that we're talking Premier League on this beautiful Saturday morning. So tell me what you've got going on across the pond.
Yeah, I mean the games pop off early, so I'm going to be talking about the Arsenal Man City match that's for tomorrow. Actually, it's probably the best matchup this weekend. Arsenal they've yet to lose a match this season. And their offense has been in really good form. Their most recent win was a 4-0 beating of Bournemouth, and the potential loss of Saka and Martinelli from injuries and stuff that's going to affect their offense and style of play. But part of me believes that Saka is going to play. He hasn't missed many games in his career, and this is such an important game that I feel like he's going to be able to play here, even if it's like a slight injury there. Their strength right now is their midfield, and I think that's something that's going to come into play here. Arsenal is coming off a 2-1 loss in the Champions League to Lens, and I purposefully stayed off of that game because I had a feeling they were going to be more focused in this matchup here, specifically against City. City's offense is one of the most potent in the league, obviously led by Erling Haaland, but they're coming off a 3-1 win against Leipzig in the Champions League, and that was with some of the key players not coming in until the second half. Julian Alvarez came in in the 79th minute. He scores a goal in the 84th and then an assist in extra time. So I think that they didn't really play their key players in the first half to kind of rest for this one as well. I think this is just a really important match for both teams here. Defensively, I think Arsenal's are going to they're going to do a good job with Ben White and Saliba to kind of hold the fort there and focus on the counterattack. And if Saka does play, that's going to be a key part of their attack, is really just focusing on the counter. City's defense, they've been pretty solid, but I think one thing is they're missing is Rodri, who's defensive-minded midfielder, and that might affect them there. And they've also been shown to get caught on some quick counters, which obviously is a strength of Arsenal here. For me, the high-profile match is with two strong midfields. Arsenal really focusing on the counterattack. City probably going to dominate the possession and create a good amount of chances. But like I said, I think Saka does play here. I think this is going to be a high pace, a high scoring matchup. My model is actually projecting 2-2, but this could be a 2-1 type game either way for both teams here. But either way, it's going to go over the 2.5. Is that's going to be the play for this one.
So if your model projects a 2-2 final, would you recommend maybe putting a little bit on the draw?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like just because I do a lot of sports, right? So when I try to pick on a sport, I try to go low volume on each one of them. Even though I might have like 6 plays, I'll have one or two per sport. And that's right now. I mean, I've been I don't want. I've been doing pretty well this summer, right? Hitting over 60% through 5 sports, right? So WNBA, MLB,
That is really tough to do.
NFL, soccer, right? That's. I mean, that's kind of like my focus this summer was really focusing on the quality over the quantity, and that's been really helping. So even though the model does say 2-2, and there is a lot. I mean, to me, a lot of value to the draw because it could potentially be 1-1 as well, right? So but for me, like I just do like the 2.5 over goals just because every way that I look at it, I feel like someone's gonna score two and both teams to score. So every way that I look at it, the 2.5 over 2.5 is probably the best way to go for me.
All right, over 2.5 in Man City tomorrow morning, bright and early there on the West Coast for Ronald Cabang at UCapper Sports on Twitter. We've got an NFL play up as well. And I had not opened up the Wager Talk odds screen until right before the show. I am kind of shocked to see this line move, right? We have Bill Belichick off one of the worst losses of his career, and you're playing against him here. Saints currently a pick 'em in
Mhm.
Foxborough. This one opened Pats -1.5. I wanted nothing to do with this game, but tell me why you like the Saints.
Yeah, I think the movement has to do with the news that Derek Carr is likely to play. I think that's going to be big there, but also the Patriots are missing a key defensive player. You know, someone that's going to put a lot of pressure on that Saints offense. Both teams offensively have been struggling, right? Like I think if you look at Derek Carr, just 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only 760 yards around there. So it hasn't been their offense hasn't been potent at all. Their rushing game is actually led by Taysom Hill, not Kamara. So Kamara needs to step up, right? Patriots on the other side, Mac Jones has thrown for 5 touchdowns, but also 4 interceptions. And to me, their top receiver is Hunter Henry. Their offense, neither, like I said, neither offense is really gonna scare nobody right now. And so the focus is going to be on the defense. And to me, the defensive edge goes to the Saints here. They have 9 total sacks, 5 interceptions. They should be able to put some pressure on Mac Jones here. And the other piece of it too is if you look at them on the road this season, they're only allowing 17 and a half points per game. And they played a couple decent teams here, and New England probably the worst offense that they played. And if you look at New England's defense, like I said, they're going to be missing Matthew Judon, and he's going to be missing for some time here. He's their sack leader. He's the guy that puts a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. And without him, that's going to leave some time for Carr. That's going to leave some time for I know his injury affects his shoulder and things like that, but for the most part, they're gonna focus on quick plays, short yardage, and just kind of run through and kind of manage time of possession here. That's the way that I see it. So I see a sort of a low scoring game with the edge significantly on the Saints side defensively. That's why I look towards them in this one here. My model does project 2016 in favor of the Saints here. I think they should be able to win this one outright. I know, obviously it's at Pick'em now, but I just really like the short game here, and I like the defense here for the Saints.
Yeah, somebody likes the Saints down to a pick 'em. And also on the Wager Talk odds screen, this one's down to total sitting at 39. So it
Yeah.
also coincides with Ron's model. If you guys have a question for Ron, you've got about 30 seconds to drop it in the chat so we can get it answered. Ron, can you let everybody know what you have up for sale right now at Wager Talk?
Yeah, I have a big Sunday. I have 3 plays in the NFL. I have one 5% soccer play. I only had one other one, and that was last week, and that hit as a plus money line. And today or tomorrow, sorry, it's going to be another plus money line 5%er, and hopefully that cashes as well. Really been like I said earlier, I've been really doing well this summer, hitting close to 60% since August 1st. So number one since August 1st at Wager Talk right now. That's Premier League hitting over 78%. The NFL right now hitting 74%. So number one, number two in those sports. Number one in the WNBA and the finals start this weekend as well. So tomorrow I have 2 plays on that as well. So uh, yeah, heavy Sunday, but hopefully we cash.
Locked and loaded on a Sunday. You love to hear it. We do have 2 questions from the chat box. Ron, Big Dog wants to know, how long do you wait into the season to start betting NBA? I know you do a lot of analytical research. So how do you go
Mhm.
about the first few weeks of the season?
Yeah, you gotta gauge the teams. A lot of teams have moving parts, right? A lot of teams have new rosters, new philosophies, and things like that. So for the most part, I gotta focus on that first and dive into whether or not I want to take into account their previous season's numbers and their roster. So if it's like a new team, you take into account like the Boston Celtics right now, right? Their whole philosophy, I think, is going to change from totally defensive minded to a little bit more offensive minded, maybe a little bit quicker pace as well. But I think for the most part, I probably wouldn't touch them until maybe game 10, 15 or so like that. And my model typically, I want to run it through maybe game 10 is probably as early as I want to do it because I want to account for mostly this season and teams that haven't changed a lot. I would probably take a slight percentage from the previous season numbers to bring into that. But for the most part, because I run a model, I don't really touch those games until game 10, and most of the previous ones before that, it's really the eye test, right? If you've been betting the NBA for quite a long time, you should be able to identify some type of value based on like scheduling spots or things like that. So for the analytical reasons, I probably wouldn't touch the games till 10 or later with my model, but anything before that is really the eye test.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you've got to kind of see how some of these teams start to play. And historically, we know how some of these teams start out of the gate, as well as injuries. And then we have to wait for the guys to start sitting. I actually said 67 games. I thought we might see the eyebrow play for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Ski didn't like that comment very much. Our good friend Hakeem Prophet. Happy belated birthday to him, by the way, too. We have a second question here for you. To the bank question for everyone. How much do you split your handicap between gut feeling, what your mind says, and what you have researched?
Yeah, I mean, gut feeling is part of like your process. But for the most part, I try to take the emotional aspect out of betting. I think I've been doing this long enough to understand that a lot of it is sort of data, right? But then at the same time, you got the eye test. I mean, I learned that from ski. And then you have the gut feel. I think there's a lot of it. A lot of handicapping to me is balance. I know a lot of people focus on one aspect or the other, but if you balance everything out and you start to focus on, the highest, your highest, like, I guess, confidence plays, I think that's where you start to change your handicapping style. Because I used to do a lot of things, right? I used to handicap a lot of sports. I used to do data. I came into sports betting because I understood basketball, NBA. I played basketball growing up. I coached at the high school level, and to me, I thought I knew the knowledge to be able to bet, successfully. But you gotta understand betting and playing and understanding the game is totally different. I think that you really gotta look at the data piece of it. Sometimes I talk about games and it doesn't really align with what my model says because I'm looking at different numbers. And if I just spit out what my model is saying, I think a lot of people wouldn't really understand what I'm trying to, trying to convey. So a lot of it is really balanced to me, though. It's the analytical piece of it. It's the gut feel. It's what you're seeing with your eyes. Once you put that together, you find a good balance. I think you're going to start seeing some success.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Ronald. 25, 25, 25 or so, somewhere in that mix. The math guys would disagree, but you can
That's
only live and die by
75%,
your.
Kelly.
Yeah, hey, I know, right? 25, 25, 25, 25. Okay. Yeah, it's like
There
I
you
said,
go.
come on. It is too early in the morning. Joe Ranieri's on vacation. Here I am. Wager Talk's last call. Make sure you guys follow Ronald Cabang, you at UCapper Sports on Twitter. We're going to bring in our last guest, who I accused of having too much wine, like myself, last night. And maybe that's why we had a delay there. Steve Merril, all jokes aside, we're on the same pair of games today. If you saw my Twitter, I'm getting a lot of grief for my UCF play that I gave out on Wednesday on Wager Talk TV, bet on it. And of course, you can't make people happy. But here's two games that have barely moved at all. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen any movement in this Purdue Iowa spot, especially given some of the injuries on the Iowa side of the ball. Purdue, a 2.5-point underdog, total 38.5. Steve Merril, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, Kelly, I run a database simulation, 10,000 games, and I do my college football top 25 video. Check that out. That's here on Wager Talk TV for 7 games for Saturday. Some bonus games we won't be able to get to today. But I do 10,000 simulations. We get an average margin of victory. It's a good starting point, and then I go from there. And I actually have Iowa winning this game by over 8 points on average. Now their quarterback is out, and the database simulation doesn't account for that. But how much does it really matter when your quarterback is out and you're one of the worst offensive teams in college football, one of the worst passing teams in college football? If anything, it might be a positive. I don't know where this line might have been had he been playing. It probably wouldn't have been 8 like my projection, but I think it would have been a little bit higher. And the point is, this line's off by nearly a touchdown. It's 2.5, which is a very key number. As you know, 3 is the most key number in all of sports betting when we're talking football. I think it's an overreaction, and I like Iowa in this situation. They're not a good offensive team, so the quarterback situation makes no difference to me, but they're a great defensive team once again. And despite being 4-1, their only loss came against Penn State, of course, and they're giving up just 4.3 yards per play. Meanwhile, Purdue, decent on both sides of the ball, but I think there's a huge defensive edge for the home team here, laying less than a field goal.
Oh boy, that's not good for me, Steve Merril. I did
Uh-oh.
bet Purdue early in the week. I thought this was a really great underdog spot for them prior to hearing even about all the injuries, but then the line didn't even move. But you're right. Iowa, I thought, got really lucky to get that cover last week against Sparty, who had them on the ropes for better part of 3.5 quarters. Steve Merril, real quick, we have a promotion up, and you can use this for Steve Merril's plays from last Wednesday. That's right, 3 days ago till Tuesday, November 21st. We have 49 straight days of football, 7 weeks of college football, NFL action, $39 a week. Get 7 weeks of football for $273. Steve Merril, before we get to this second game, tell me what you've got up at Wager Talk.
Yeah, I've got 4 strong best bets in college football and a bonus free play. Not the games we're talking about here. Iowa didn't make the cut, so don't worry, Kelly. I'm not on that game. I'm leaning Iowa, but you'll be okay maybe. And I'll talk about another game here that was just a bit outside from making the cut. Plus, we have 7 plays in, once again, that college football top 25 video. There's 4 head-to-head top 25s, and there's 3 additional games with top 30 teams playing. And we're going to get to one of those in a moment, and I'll explain it more. But I do have 4 additional strong best bets for Saturday and a bonus free play right now. It's a 4-for-1 special. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
I can't with Chosen One in the comment section. Steve Merril, 2 R's, no L's. Feels like a nice
Man, I like
here.
that.
And
that is fantastic. And, if you take the L's out and we win every game, I am merry. So I agree with that. That is fantastic.
I love
haven't heard
it.
that one.
I think we're going to have to
that's a pretty
steal
good one.
that. Chosen One, far wittier than I could ever imagine being. Steve Merril, this is one of the plays I did on the hustle this week with my good friend Chris Thurston. And at first, I had Washington State on my long list. I thought, okay, what have we seen here from Wazoo? What have we not really seen here from UCLA? And he made a really compelling case for the Bruins. You like them too. UCLA -3, total 60.5.
Yeah, Kelly, we're going to get you off that wine and we're going to get you off the underdogs here long term. 20 years ago, I used to play a lot of underdogs as well, and I've evolved as a capper. I play more favorites than ever. I talk about college football September. I play mostly big favorites. I like to look for blowout spots, but I also like to look for the better team at a short price and a focus spot. And I think we get that here with UCLA. And I teased the fact I've got that college football top 25 video here on Wager Talk TV, but 3 additional games that just missed the cut, where in which we had top 30 teams that are getting additional votes that aren't ranked, but I think if they win, they will be ranked. Last week, the additional game I used was Kentucky against Florida. Kentucky was unranked. They won. They're now 20th. Florida fell out. They were a slight home favorite. Same thing here. We have ranked Washington State against unranked UCLA, yet the odds makers are telling us something because UCLA is a small home favorite. And once again, my database simulation shows value. I've got UCLA winning this game by 8 points. And who is the 3rd best defense in college football? It's UCLA. They're giving up less than 4 yards per play if you're looking at a yards per play metric. And then on top of that, Washington State coming off the huge home upset of another top 25 team, Oregon State, last week. I think this is a really good setup for UCLA. I think we get value. I think we get an underrated Bruins defense. And by the way, Washington State hasn't traveled since September 2nd. It's only their 2nd road game of the season. Lots of things to like about UCLA in this one at 3 o'clock Eastern.
I may or may not still be kicking myself for not betting Kentucky last week. They were on my list, and I wussed out, even though, like Cabang and I just talked about, Florida had not really passed the eye test outside of that Tennessee game for me, and Kentucky absolutely rolled. Hopefully we get the same result here with the Bruins. All right, if you guys have a question for Steve, make sure you drop it in the chat box. Otherwise, I got college football to watch. All right, Vegas, Gianni, sorry for the tongue twister, but the Red River rivalry is set to kick off here in 30 minutes. any last second bets on the game? I just got a little mean comments about my underdogs from Steve Merril, but I am on Oklahoma. I don't think Texas has really passed the eye test for me. Look, we played Rice, and a really bad Baylor team that luckily got the win for me last weekend. And they didn't cover against Wyoming either. Sure, they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, but against one of three quarterbacks, I mean, there's some issues there with that team. I think Oklahoma's been quietly flying under the radar. Steve Merril, do you agree with me? Are you laying it with the horns?
Kelly, just like wine, it's okay to have it in moderation, just like underdogs. And I like the underdog here. So we're in agreement. It's okay. You're in a safe space. And I know you and I are probably two of the most politically correct individuals on earth. So we wouldn't dare call this the Red River Shootout. Shootout! Don't say shootout. Shootout! Red River Rivalry. That is a tongue twister. You can't even say it.
It is.
I will say
it's really hey.
It's hard.
I can't even say
fair.
rivalry on a regular basis, let alone Red River rivalry.
Good point. There's actually a fourth R there. I was going to say it's the triple R, but rivalry is hard enough, like you said. But I will say something about the word rivalry because that is a key to this handicap because this is a rival dog with huge, what was it, 49-0 last year, revenge. So I think that's legitimate. God. And I'll tell you what's interesting about Oklahoma. All of a sudden, they're playing defense. You know, that was their Achilles heel last year and why they had such a disappointing season. But on the season, they're giving up less points and less yards per play than Texas. Now, I realize Texas has played a tougher schedule overall, but this is a really good defensive dog, rival dog, revenge dog. Triple R is there, and I'd lean Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, no Dylan Gabriel. That was probably my worst bet last year, Steve. I bet Oklahoma, I want to say on like a Monday or a Tuesday, and by Friday I was like,
remember that game.
Oh boy. And I was still not prepared for the bloodbath that was ensued. I don't factor in revenge too much from last season, but I do think that it's worth noting that the Sooners have won 7 of the last 10 there. So we'll see how it goes down. Maybe we can't get a nice outright underdog win. My underdog parlay is up on my Twitter page right now. Speaking of Twitter, Steve Merril, at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, except for last week there was no L's. And hopefully there's no L's for him again here on Wager Talk. Steve, anything before I let you go?
Yeah, hopefully the only L's we see on my page at WagerTalk.com are in my last name, right? We'll keep it at that. So we have a strong card in college football. It's locked and loaded. 4 best bets, a bonus free game as well. We got some NFL posted. We'll have even more by tonight for Sunday. And most importantly, don't forget, I have a promo code up there right now. You can get 7 days and nights of football and baseball. By the way, #1 in baseball the last 30 days, and I'm 23-11 since September 1st. 2-0 already in the playoffs. So don't sleep on baseball. 7 days all sports, college and pro football and baseball for just $79 with promo code Steve7. Use that right now on my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And right after this show, stay on Wager Talk TV. Check out my college football top 25, 7 games previewed, and my NFL Fade the Public, Kelly, 8 games previewed, including 3 public dogs. Those are the dogs, Kelly, you don't want to be on this week in the NFL.
Ooh.
I can tease one for you real quick if you want a freebie. I can give you one.
Yeah, give me one. Give me one. Let me know who you think.
There was actually 3 of them on there. One of them I actually agreed with in the video, so go back and watch. I actually tell you I agree with that dog. But the dog which I disagree with, which I thought was very interesting, Kelly, Houston Texans. You know, I've been doing this video for 3 years now, and the Texans have always been a play against, and now the public's on them. Ding, 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 red flag alert. So and Falcons coming back from London. What are your
3
thoughts?
out of 5 weeks. Love them. Love them. Love them, but not this week. Atlanta is the play. I'm with you, Steve. Very happy to hear that they are the dog with fleas. CJ Stroud, very impressive thus far. No interceptions, averaging over 250 passing yards a game. Not saying that he has not been very key for that team, but I think maybe the rug gets pulled out of underneath them in the dome.
Yeah, well, the matchup is really interesting, too, as I was talking about this in the video, is Atlanta's weakness this year has been against the run. They have a good pass defense statistically, so that's a good matchup. And the Falcons are like the Giants, the Bears. They're a bad offensive team. They can't throw the ball. When they get behind, like the last couple of weeks, is when they get routed. But they are a slight favorite. They should be able to run the ball against a suspect defense for the Texans. So, yeah, I think this is a spot maybe we can trust the Falcons. But, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I mean, first time in several years the Texans have not been a play against team, and now they're a play on team and they're a dog. You know, that you and I know how that turns out more times than not.
Unfortunately, every once in a while I'll get stuck on those dogs, and it usually goes completely sideways. Steve Merril, he's the best. Thank you guys for jumping in the comment section. Thank you for hanging out with us here on this beautiful Saturday. Oh, Big Dog, thank you. Wager Talk has been on one with the content this season. Cannot wait for basketball. Basketball less than 30 days away. Where has the time gone? Wager Talk. Right now we've got one special up. Football blowout, as you can see on the screen. $39 a week. You get 7 weeks of football. Any capper, college football, NFL. Head over to wagertalk.com. We're out. Less than 30 minutes till kickoff. And man, I hope you guys have a profitable Saturday.